Hello and welcome to Paw Prints on the Mountain, brought to you by the Humane Society of the White Mountains. I'm your host, Mike Bosely. In moments, we'll be joined by Debbie and Deena and little Dusty. But before we do that, let's move into Mike's Pet Peeves. Now, Mike's Pet Peeves is merely my opinion, not the opinion of the board, nor anybody important, really. It's just kind of my opinion. What I can't stand is Facebook ads. Yeah, seriously. They've got these cool, deceptive titles like, "Your family's gonna love this," or "Your kids have never had so much fun." You know, it's even got a picture of a family having fun, not really doing anything, but they look like they're having fun doing nothing. So you click on the ad, next thing I know, I'm staring at a video of a 40-foot inflatable 747 Airbus. What am I going to do with a 40-foot inflatable 747 Airbus? Where am I going to fly this? Why would my kids love this? Now, I decided not to buy this product, so it's going to be in my news feed for the next 3 weeks. Or what about the one where you are scrolling and your smartphone thinks you clicked on it? Out of all the obscure things in the world, why would I want a high-powered cattle prod? I don't even know what I would do with a cattle prod, more or less a high-powered one. And now I don't want that product, so now I've got 747 Airbuses and cattle prods in my newsfeed for the next 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure the FBI is now watching me. What I hate more than that is this COVID-19 stuff. This COVID-19 stuff, ridiculous. Take, for instance, I'm wearing a hat because I still have not gone to the haircut place. Trust me, I'll leave it on for you. What I also can't stand, I hope you learned during this whole ordeal how important mom and pop shops and the Doghouse Thrift Shop truly are to our community. They are the building blocks. If you take them away, everything dries up. Also, along with this COVID-19 stuff, we've been stuck at home with our pets for the last month and a half. And now it's time to transition back into going into work. Just as your ex-girlfriend in high school had a big problem breaking up with you, your dogs, cats are having the same mental problem right now with you going back to work. They call it anxiety.
Separation anxiety.
Separation anxiety. So as you're moving back into your new normal routine, please just remember your four-legged friends and think about how they feel as you adjust back into normal society. So ladies, do you have any pointers of what might help owners and social separation anxiety?
So personally, I do have a dog that has separation anxiety. She likes to dig in the trash and get all kinds of stuff. So what I have done is go, like, if I'm gonna leave and I know I'm gonna leave for an extended amount of time or whatever, work, whatever, days off or whatever, I would go and then come back and then go for a little bit longer and then come back. So she knows that I'm gonna come back.
Okay.
So she doesn't think that I'm just leaving and never coming home. Also, I've given them things to do, Kongs with some kibble and peanut butter smeared on the top, so that gives them something to do and think about.
Entertaining them, right?
Yeah, some sort of entertainment. You can leave the TV on.
Yes.
You know, some dogs like to watch TV.
My dogs like to watch TV, but then they bark at every animal on the TV. When we had those 800-pound TVs, that was okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now that we've got a 40-pound 80-inch TV, not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, too, there's different things. Some pets may be happy we're all going back to work. You know? But, you know, there's the classical music, you know, things like that. Leave some music on. And it's just, you know, you finally get them over that. And now the COVID hit and you're home all the time and you got to start all over. So if you've been through it before, just go with what worked for you before.
Okay.
And Debbie, like she said, leaving, you know, little bits of time and coming back while you're getting ready to go back to work. Things like that. And, you know, We just got a young pup at our house. She's 8 months old.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. You know, but it's a pup. You know, she's got a lot to learn, and so I actually are putting them in a more secluded area where they have access to the doggy door and out in the backyard, but they also cannot get to the main part of the house. So if she's, because I don't know if she's going to tear up my couch. I come home some night and there's no couch or whatever. So, you know, there's ways to confine them to different areas where they have access to what they need, and still not, you know, damage, you know, your nicer things. And yet I'm making my other two go back with her, you know, hoping they'll teach her. Yeah.
Right.
So the anxiety thing is real. A lot of pets do have it, and there's not, it's just trial and error. Until you find something that works, yep. And they have to feel secure that you are going to come back. We've seen some pretty bad cases that have come to us. Remember the one that even jumped through the window?
Yes, we had a dog. He had such separation anxiety. He went through a window and tore apart our interior door.
No
we had to replace the whole door at the shelter.
Yeah, and he was turned in because he jumped through a window. Yeah, you know, and those ones they're very hard to try and help.
Right.
You know, and sometimes, you know, you've got to look at what their best interest is too.
Well, one of the things that I love about the Humane Society is how well you guys are able to match, and it's not a perfect process, but you guys are really good at matching animals and their new owners and creating that perfect home and that new bond. What kind of process do you ladies go through to make that happen?
So everybody that comes in has to do an adoption application, even if they've adopted from us 10 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. Each animal has to have their own adoption application.
Okay.
And when we test the dogs, everybody gets a behavioral assessment before they get moved up to the adoption line. This helps us know a little bit more about them, if they're food aggressive, if they're dog aggressive, cat aggressive, different things like that. And I would say a lot of the times, not only with the SAFER test, but the staff is walking these dogs twice a day.
Right.
So they're getting to know their personalities, they're getting to know their little quirks, what they like, what they don't like, you know, different things like that. So then we're able to know more about them. So when the people do the adoption application, we can say, oh, hey, you know, so-and-so doesn't really like this, but you might try this dog.
Wow. So I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew you guys walked the dogs and animals. I know I'm such a dog lover. You take care of the animals and they get exercise, but I never really put that's almost part of their behavioral analysis.
Absolutely. Yeah, our techs can tell us more, you know, all the time, you know, and as the dog's with us a little bit longer, because we don't walk the cats, not very often anyway, but when the dogs are with us, you know, or when they're working with the cats, the more that, you know, each individual's with them, the more they see their different personalities, you know, and always an animal's going to behave differently when it gets home, and once it really gets relaxed, you know, then you'll get to really and truly see the true pet that you have. But give them time to get that point, you know, because it's going to take them time. Some have been with us for quite a while. Some we don't know their stories before they got to us, but we could kind of guess them, you know.
Right.
And so you just need to give them that time to settle in and feel confident that you are going to keep coming home and that they have that home, you know. And probably one of the biggest questions is, well, other than what kind of dog is this, you know, or what breed is it, you know, it's, you know, and then is the other one is it housebroke? You know, even when we have dogs that we're pretty sure are housebroke, and we know this by whether or not they can hold it all night in their kennel or not.
Right.
You know, it still doesn't mean that a house-trained dog will not get nervous coming into your home for the first time and have some accidents until you guys get to know each other and how it's going to alert you that it needs to go out and go to the bathroom. So just have patience, because it's so worth it.
Right. Well, like I said, you guys have done phenomenal matching, and it's a wonder how you guys do that. Yeah. Now, also, throughout this COVID-19, we saw some adoptions.
Yeah, we had some great adoptions during this whole thing, you know, and I just hope that it keeps up with everybody going back to work and things
That's
like that, and
exactly right.
everybody will continue to adopt from us.
And keep the ones
and-
that they did adopt.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, that's always a scary thought, you know. It's not that we're negative people, but we're realist.
Uh-huh.
You know, we've got to be realistic in the world and say, you know, okay, so what's going to happen when you go back to work?
Right.
You know, what are you going to do with this pet? You know, hopefully by now it's part of their family.
Right.
You know, so.
And that's something when you're deciding whether or not to get a pet, you have to look at the long-term picture.
It's a years commitment.
Right.
Years.
Right.
You know, so I think my oldest one that within the last year had to be put down was almost 14. You know, so they're commitments.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
and you've got to commit. I'm one of these believers that you should never have any more animals or children that you can emotionally and financially support.
I think that's
You know,
wonderful
you
sound
know,
advice.
Well, you know, I mean, like our last lab, we spent thousands and thousands of dollars on surgeries for him. You know, and a lot of people cannot do that, and we understand that.
Right.
You know, but at least do what you can, try, see what's going on. You know, and maybe there's some alternatives.
Now, have you had anybody reach out to the shelter for a little help during this COVID-19?
We have for you know, people have been laid off from their jobs, lost their jobs, whatever the case was. We were able to help with food if they had pets. Rather than trying to surrender them to us, we would offer them food, and then they were able to keep them.
And
So-
I mean, not only are you guys saving lives, you're connecting lives, you're bringing families together, but on top of all of that, you're there to help the community when they need a hand
Yeah.
up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, because these are tough times for a lot of families.
Tough
you know,
times for
and-
the shelter too. You guys could have just closed and said, no, we need to protect ourselves, but you were still putting it out there that this
that
is
we
a
were
community.
here. Yeah, and you know, it is tough times for our shelters too, because our House Thrift shop did have to close.
Yes, it did.
So there are tough times. This whole community's in tough times, and like you say, you know, support your local businesses, and you know, I think we can all get through it, hopefully. You know, but yeah, our shelter's been through rough times. You know, so.
Well, the good news is we're kind of on the flip side of that now.
Yes.
The doghouse is open.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about some of the new stuff that they've done at the doghouse coming up in just a moment. We'll be right back. Stay right there. Good job. Welcome back to Paw Prints on the Mountain, brought to you by the Humane Society of the White Mountains. I'm your host, Mike Bosely, and we have Deena and Debbie, and we have a very cute friend with us that didn't fully get the memo that it was his camera shot.
Yes.
Who do we have with us today, Debbie?
This is Dusty, and he came into us. He had a lot of ticks on his ears and all over, so we got him cleaned up, got all the ticks off, gave him a bath, everything like that. So when I was actually combing him to get some of the ticks off, just poofing of dust was coming off, so I decided to name him Dusty.
Okay.
But he came in as a stray. I don't really know much about him, but
Other than that, he's cuter than
other
Bugs
than he's
here.
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cute.
Now, animals that let's just say I got a puppy from the Humane Society. Now, you're only allowed to give certain immunizations to a certain age, correct? Or before a certain age? I'm saying that wrong. People have believed that they get all their vaccinations when they adopt a dog, but there's more vaccinations that have to happen. So
Correct.
how did I say that wrong?
Yes.
You're like,
So, depending on how long they've been with us,
Okay.
it depends on how many vaccinations they've had.
Okay.
And how old they are.
Okay, so the assumption that I adopt a dog and everything's good and I just don't even have to care about that's not really the case.
Right.
In all
So,
the time.
how we vaccinate is different than how regular vet clinics vaccinate because
Makes
of
sense.
our circumstances. So we have a lot of animals coming in, a lot of animals going out. So we will vaccinate them if they're puppies, so we'd vaccinate him, and he would get vaccinations every 2 weeks until he's 16 weeks old or
Okay.
until he's adopted.
Oh, okay.
So it depends on how long he's been with us. So if he's been with us, 4 weeks,
Because he's going to get
then you would
adopted. He's
have
cute as heck.
2 vaccinations, and then we would tell the adopter, okay, he's going to need more vaccinations. Here's the vaccinations he's had, and this is the date that they were given.
Okay.
And then you need to take this to the vet to get him on his own vet schedule.
How
or
did you guys
vaccination
work
schedule.
that where every vet on the mountain is willing to be a part of your team? Like, you can get a wellness check at any vet. That's phenomenal
Yeah.
that every single vet up here
Yeah.
is
They
working
have
with you.
given us a discount because we pay for that first vet exam.
Okay.
And they've all given us an amazing discount. Years ago I called them and I said, this is what we can afford. And they all said, okay, we'll do it. We do have some great vets up here. We really and truly do. So you have a large selection, and we're very fortunate, and these animals up here are very fortunate.
Yes.
So
when they get adopted, they get told that they do need more vaccines, and then they get a free wellness check to
Yes.
any vet on the mountain.
yes.
Well, Dusty, it looks like you're gonna make it, buddy. You're gonna be good to go.
Yeah, he's not going home with me.
He's gonna leave enough
Although he's
dog hair just
awful
to make your
cute.
dogs
Yes,
jealous.
Yes, exactly.
Now, speaking of dogs, we have the House Thrift Shop.
We do.
Now, those guys were doing some pretty hardcore work while they were off.
Well, so they started back a week before we opened the store because
Okay.
they were actually off for 4 weeks.
Okay.
And what they did was they ended up having to sand the floor in some spots, and they varnished the whole floor again inside the building.
Wow.
And then they had to take out all their winter products and bring in summer products, and they rearranged the store. It looks amazing in there.
That looks great.
It really does. And so we've actually been at the location at the 3002 White Mountain Boulevard for 5 years in this past May.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've been there.
Remember when you were at the one place before that was
Yeah.
so small.
Well, and it was so dark, there was no windows. So, the doghouse is kind of like the shelter. I don't think it matters how big you go, you're never going to have enough room. Shelter will never have enough room for all the animals that need us, and the doghouse will never have enough room for everything that we get donated, which is a blessing that we get donated. So,
Right.
because that's everything in there is donated. So all that money comes over to the shelter every day to help little ones like Dusty.
Now, one thing I would like to reiterate is if you are going to make some donations, please drop off the gently used or new items to the doghouse. And I don't care what you do with the rest of it, really.
Yeah, and you can drop those donations off because we're open Tuesdays through Saturday from 10 to 5, and you can drop donations from 10 to 4.
Okay. And they help you. You pull up. They come out in the back. They help unload your car. Very friendly. They take care of it. It's a very easy process.
It is.
And it's very painless as long as you're following the rules.
Absolutely. The most painful part is getting it into your own vehicle to get it to us at the doghouse, because once we get to the doghouse, those guys are awesome.
Doing a phenomenal job down there.
Yes.
Les and your crew, good job, guys. Now, you made a comment just a moment ago about how the shelter will really never have enough room.
Yeah.
Now, we have a splendid opportunity coming up to showcase the entire campus.
We do.
Tell us about it.
So it is our 50-year anniversary, and we're celebrating that on June 20th
Okay.
from 11:30
Yep.
to 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And that's at the shelter. We're going to have hot dogs. We're going to have tours of the whole facility, because when people come in to adopt, what they see is the adoptable animals. They see half of the dogs we normally have, and they don't see the cats that we have back in our incoming area.
Right.
So we actually have 2 more buildings that are full of animals, just dogs, and then one that's full of cats waiting, for them to become legally ours, and, any medical issues and all that before they get to move up for adoption.
I think it'll be good for the community because, you walk in to adopt a dog and you see 16, or how many are in that front kennel?
There's 21
kennels.
21.
You see those 21s, you're like, oh, this is all the dogs. But you guys, you're housing a whole nother community that the public never sees.
Yeah, 2 more buildings full of dogs.
We have 45 dog kennels.
45.
So we
dog
actually have more in the back than we do in the front.
Wow.
But, the amazing part about all that is where it started and where we're at now. It started as just one little section,
Right.
and it's been built on and another building added, and so it's really, and the sad thing is, the truth of the matter is, no matter how big we get, it'll never be big enough.
Right.
So that's the sad thing. But you know what? Deb and I have set a goal for ourselves. We're going to work ourselves out of a job someday.
Well, that's a very good goal for both of you to have.
Yeah, and the backup is I'll retire one of these years.
Well, the good news is I am horrible at math, so if I'm correct, you still have another 20 years before retirement.
Oh, no, you're not horrible at math. You're just nice. And then I also kind of want to give a big thank you to Dennis Azavino.
Oh, yeah.
Who has done, and I hope everyone can join us for this 50-year anniversary.
He's put some work into this.
Dennis, and he's got some other volunteers that are helping, but painting and putting up this FRP board, which is you put in showers, along the bottom of the walls for cleaning purposes and stuff. And it's given the whole shelter a whole new, fresh look. And so a big thank you to Dennis. He does everything so much for us as a volunteer. Now,
there's a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of ways to volunteer.
Yes.
For the Humane Society. Explain some of those to us.
Well, there's several opportunities at the shelter itself. Of course, there's the walking the dogs, socializing cats. There's also helping with yard work, laundry, dishes, and there's some off-site events, off-site adoptions when we get back to those, and there's fundraising,
Right.
like coming up with Happy Tales.
Happy Tales. Oh, we're already talking about Happy Tales.
Yeah, we are. And so there's just so many different opportunities with the shelter, and then come on over to our doghouse and help keep that place organized and clean and customers happy, and so there is all kinds of volunteer opportunities. In the wintertime, I always tell people that it's very easy when you're locked in to get depressed and stuff with the cold weather. You don't have to do that. Come on out.
Right. Right.
Help somebody at the shelter, help these animals, or go over to our income, our everyday fundraiser at our doghouse and help us.
Wasn't there a volunteer that used to read to the dogs?
Well, yes, and Frank should be back up again soon.
And he's our resident dog reader?
He is our summer dog reader, and now we actually, there's a lady that helps us at the shelter and the doghouse, and she's been reading to this dog every day because this dog has been very scared of everything and everybody, and she's making really good progress with her.
Wow, that's amazing.
She can now leash this dog and take her walking, and where before she cowered in a corner.
So sad.
And it is so sad, but yet it's so rewarding to see the good work that's being done.
Right.
And one of our volunteers is her main person right now helping her.
I think that's phenomenal. That's wonderful, and just proof of the miracle that you guys do every day.
Absolutely.
You and your staff. Great job, Debbie.
It is miracles. It really is miracles. And then when we have our critter camp, which is always in June, the kids read to the animals every day too. That's part of their curriculum.
I did not know that was part of
Absolutely.
critter camp.
We have been doing that for years. They have little pads they sit on in front of the kennels, and they read to an animal.
Interesting. What is the ages for critter camp? Because Talon's almost 1.
I believe it's 7.
Okay.
But we'll still be there.
Okay.
We're not going to have ourselves worked out of a job yet.
Okay. All right.
No, and we had the first grade come over from the school next door, before all the COVID stuff happened. And they would come over and read to the dogs once a week.
That's great for the dogs and the kids.
It's part of their reading program, and that's why, we always figure, it gives kids, it builds their confidence, especially ones that may have a little problem.
Right.
Because the dog's not going to know whether they're reading it word for word or if they're just looking at a picture and telling a story, but their mind's working.
Right.
The kids' minds are working to keep that animal happy and hearing. And when we first started this, Bob, a great volunteer of ours, was running our critter camp program, and he said, Deena, I don't think that's going to work. And I go, why? And he goes, the dogs all bark every time we walk in there. And I said, yeah, but if you sit quietly and just keep reading it in a normal voice. And he was so amazed. It worked. It worked, thank goodness, the way I hoped it had. And the dogs just really quiet it down because they wanted to hear what was being said.
Right.
So, yeah. It's just little things like that, those little miracles that we are blessed with.
I think it shows you're plugged into the community yet again. So
you know what?
amazing.
We love our community, and we really hope that they come out and celebrate 50 years with us.
So one more time, give us the dates, give us the location.
June 20th at the shelter at 3212 North Porter Mountain Road.
Okay.
Free hot dogs. We're also going to have some raffle drawings for free microchips and doghouse gift certificates.
That's a great idea. What I love about this is that people that haven't had a chance to see the Humane Society, this is their moment. So mark it on your calendars, talk to Siri, talk to Google, whoever you AI talk to, whatever smart device, June 20th, 11:30 to 4, that is where you need to be. And we will also see you next month right here on Paw Prints on the Mountain, brought to you by the Humane Society. Take care of each other and your pets. We'll see you next time.